what do you do with the gifts, the cards, the checks from your parent that you are no contact with, who's trying to get at your children that they have absolutely no right for? You know, like, they think that these kinds of people think that because they have a title like grandmother or mother that they're entitled to a relationship and a connection, and they're not. Behave well, earn that, you know. And by behave well, I mean be a loving, kind, safe person so that your grandchildren can actually have you. Anyway, that's not answering your question. So I'm going to read your question and then I'm going to respond to it. Here we go. Let's get into it. Any tips for grandma sending checks in the mail? My no contact mom has been sending cards for my kids' birthdays and holidays. At first the card, then cash. Now physical checks in their names. What do we do? First and foremost, don't break no contact. So meaning don't send it back. Don't say to, if you're in relationships with anyone that is in the grapevine of the flying monkeys or whatever, don't say to them, oh, I can't believe she's sending a card, or these gifts aren't welcome. Don't send a message to them in that way. Don't break no contact. The only exception to breaking no contact, because you're not trying to feed the dragon, right? You don't want her to know that you have any feelings about what she's doing in any kind of way, because people like that, like my mother, I'll just go with the scenario of my mother. My mother is a control junkie, and if she can gain some sort of emotional control over me for even a millisecond, that's very satisfying to her, and it's not so satisfying to me. So I'm all about protecting how I feel and my energy, and not allowing something to carry on that I can choose whether or not to keep that ball in the air and give it life, give it air, give it oxygen, whatever you want to call it. So don't break no contact. The exception being, if you feel that somewhere down the road you might need some sort of restraining order, then you break no contact in a direct way, maybe even have a lawyer write a cease and desist letter, or you can send a text, an email, and even a letter, a snail mail, saying, this is not okay, this is the boundary, you are not welcome to do A, B, and C, and being very specific about zero contact, so that if you do need to later on get a restraining order, you have evidence that on this date you sent this thing and you were very, very clear. Outside of that, don't break no contact. With regard to your children, so when I went no contact with my mother, my eldest daughter, her golden grandchild, was almost like 5-6 years old. And my youngest at the time, my son, was about 2.5. I've since had another child who she didn't meet but for like once or twice when she was a really young kid at a family event, a bar mitzvah, as a matter of fact. But other than that, like, my youngest didn't have any feeling or interaction with my mother outside of like, ooh, I don't really like you. And my oldest, because she was the golden child, felt the loss of my mother. She felt the loss of that very special treatment. In all situations, my children have not felt deprived of my mother, or even necessarily deprived of a grandparent, although they did have my late mother-in-law, who was amazing. So they got that part of the grandmother experience. I would say if anyone was really hurting from not having my mother in my life, it would have been me, because I didn't get to have that situation where, oh, so-and-so got a good grade today, or a tooth fell out, or, you know, all those things that we miss. They sit here and they go, you're weaponizing your children. You're giving us a silent treatment. No, we're trying to raise a healthy family and teach them that love is not toxic. So on that note, don't tell your children about the cards. Don't worry about it. It's in your right to throw them out, to burn them, cut them up, shred them, whatever it is. Leave them be. Put it to rest. And yeah, the chances are, if your mother is anything like what I see in my therapy practice, she's probably threatening to tell them when they're 18 that you deprived them and did all these terrible things. And let me tell you something, love conquers, love wins in this situation. Your children will have been raised by you in love and protection, and hopefully honesty and understanding of why it is you couldn't have your mother in their lives and in your life. That's how my children were raised. They knew the truth as it was age appropriate along the way. And actually, my eldest daughter did have a relationship with my mother in adult life. That was her choice. And I supported whatever it is she wanted to do because I trusted the love that I gave her, that she had within our family. I trusted that she had a good foundation to make good decisions. And guess what? My mother ultimately, after trying to smear campaign me to her and do all of these things and create division, lost. Because these people will always show who they are. And when children aren't raised with a tolerance for toxicity, they don't tolerate toxicity. My daughter went no contact with her, all on her own. So I hope that my response was helpful to you and to other people out there. Thank you for the question. And don't worry about what happens next. Just take care of your family now and keep moving in peace. Take care.